So moving on to what does this win mean for the Eagles? This was like almost more interesting to me than what the loss meant for the Chiefs or what even a win would have meant for the Chiefs when I was covering it last week. So I think first and foremost, my personal you can read my blog about the disappointment of Vic Fangio not working out for the Dolphins. He's going to go down as one of the better defensive coordinators of all time. He's going to go down as the man who figured out this high powered era of offense, who slowed down Mahomes when he was the Broncos head coach and now kind of like put a capstone on all of that by beating Mahomes in a very, very, you know, dominant fashion in this Super Bowl. Then I think for Nick Sirianni, think this, people were like very quick to be like, oh, he's not that good. He's only as good as his coordinators. But like, yeah, I mean, a lot of coaches are only as good as their coordinators in the sense that like their job isn't to be as good as their coordinators at their coordinators' jobs. Their job is to get the best coordinators under them to do the best job for the team and to lead the team. And Nick Sirianni, he was the play caller for the Eagles. The collapse down the stretch last year, he gave it up. He brought in Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore had a lot of success in Dallas with Dak Prescott, made Dak Prescott basically an MVP candidate, comes to Philadelphia, creates this offense around Saquon Barkley where he gets 2,000 yards, has these great regular season performances, 14-3 in the regular season. They go through the playoffs dominating every team that they play, except for the Rams. The Rams gave them a fight and were in it at the end. But the offense dominated in all games, to be sure. And now Kellen Moore is going to be a head coach. And I think, Nick Sirianni, obviously, like now a legend in Philadelphia. Maybe they'll build a statue of him and Jalen Hurts. We'll see there. Um, but I think it does show like he is the right man for the job because he has the humility to give up play calling and to focus on what his job really is, which is leading the team and getting the best coordinators around him in order to succeed as the head coach. So I want to give him a lot of credit because I think that is an underrated part of his success. Then Jalen Hurts, legacy game for him, part of the 2020 draft class, which of course, Joe Burrow, Tua, Herbert, Jordan Love, Jalen Hurts. Am I missing anybody there? I don't think so. I am. Please let me know. All great quarterbacks in their own right. All have had success in the league. All have like looked like MVP candidates at some point. But Jalen Hurts was in the second round with the rest of the guys were in the first. And yes, he has the best team surrounding him by far. And we'll get to that in a second. But at the end of the day, he's a good enough quarterback to win these games. He's two-time Super Bowl maker, a one-time Super Bowl champion, a legend in Philadelphia, the tush push, very iconic. And just like you have to feel good for a player who was the leader of Alabama to get into the national championship game. He's playing poorly, gets replaced at halftime. Tua wins the national championship for them. And Jalen Hurts is the backup that next season. And he handles it like so well, such a mature, way to handle it. He ends up transferring out after that next season. He plays extremely well for Oklahoma. He gets drafted in the second round. He unseats Carson Wentz. He leads them to a Super Bowl title. They lose. He gets right back out there. He signs a big contract. They win the Super Bowl. Like, you just have to feel good for a player like Jalen Hurts here. I certainly do. I'm sure if you're an Eagles fan, you'd love it. How could you not? I'd like, if I was an Eagles fan, I'd have like all of the jersey combinations of Jalen Hurts because he's just such a good player, such a likable guy. So I think this does a lot for his legacy and something to be said, first quarterback from that draft class to win a Super Bowl. And then Howie Roseman, GM, the architect of this team, he got lucky, of course, getting Jalen Carter due to the outside circumstances surrounding what happened with Jalen Carter after the national championship when he was in college. They took a risk, and Jalen Carter seems to be doing well, and he's like their best defensive player now. And he was a big reason why they were able to succeed in this game, get tons of pressure on Patrick Mahomes. The drafted 2 cornerbacks this year. Both of them were rookie of the year candidates. That's incredibly impressive. Traded for or signed linebacker like Howie Rose. Oh, and of course, just signed Saquon Barkley or whatever. Not a big deal. Just, the best running back in the league right now. Got him for reasonably cheap money, and he had a 2,000-yard season and carried them through the playoffs and had a solid game in the Super Bowl. Whatever. Not a huge deal. But I think like Howie Roseman is the most impressive GM in the league just because he's, made all these excellent choices and they've paid off, and he's kind of recognized like, look, our quarterback is a little limited. That doesn't mean we can't win with him, We just need to put all the pieces around him. We have the best offensive line in the league. We have probably the best defensive line in the league. We have solid cornerbacks, good best running back, good linebackers. Like it's a team. It's a team effort, and Jalen Hurts is good enough to get us that win. So this is just like a shining example of like competency within an organization. And again, I talked about in the other segment, this team since 2000 has been on one hell of a run, underrated run for them. So if you're an Eagles fan, let me know your thoughts about this run in the Super Bowl title in the comments.